There is an ignored section of the library. After all, as you walk into a library, you find biased and muddled political magazines. And you also walk in and you will find articles from the Science Institute. These are rather boring, and I doubt anyone really cares about any of the information, but they can be interesting every now and then. Also, as you go along, you will find the romantic section filled with bestsellers and are excellent replacements for those nights when you are in company of a tub of ice cream. However, there's one section which is probably the most important section of all, but is the most ignored, and that is the classic section of classical literature. BBC has recently done a study that showed that of showing 100 of the most well-known classic literatures, books. Of these, the average person will read 6 of them, and this includes the fact that most of them are required reading in certain schools. Despite this, only 6 of them are read. The reason why it's so important that we read classical literature is many people believe that we must either be in a state of being controlled, being told by professionals what is best for us, or being confused in a situation in which we ourselves have no idea where we're at. This is where classical literature comes in. I'll use politics as an example. As you come in and read a magazine on politics, you might often become confused or muddled right on the very moment. This is okay, this happens. But in order to help broaden yourself so that you be prepared to know your own opinions about certain situations happening in the US or the world right now, it's best to expose yourself to certain classical literatures. Such as, you might say, but that's not historically relevant. Plato lived 3,000 years ago. What does it matter what he has to say about what's happening now? But the only problem with that argument is that there's nothing that's happening now that hasn't happened many times before. We've had many economic declines since the very beginning of our United States history, and we've also had this question asked: how much is too much in government control since the birth of the first politician? Reading, when done, should be used either for information, exploration, or entertainment. Now that we've gone into the why, let's go into the how. Many people might say, well, I suppose classic literature can be important, but it is boring as dishwater. I don't understand what I'm to do. The most important thing for you to do right now is to find a pathway between you and the classic literature. For instance, if you happen to be a science fiction fan, then there is an excellent author known as H.G. Wells. He wrote the very first novel on an alien invasion and time traveling. He is definitely a classic literature and is probably the father of science fiction. Or if you might be a big fan and playing those computer games that suck your life out, then there are also medieval fantasy novels out there, such as The Once and Future King, written just before World War II, so it is filled with controversy, but it still has the section on what you might be most interested in. Also, if you just happen to be interested in short stories and mythologies, there's Edith Hamilton's mythology. Another addition to this might be Bullfinch's mythology. They each cover mythologies from mostly Greek or Norse. Also, if you happen to be a big fan of mystery or always love to be puzzled and solving puzzles, there's also the most popular of these, and that's Sherlock Holmes. There are over 1,500 pages covered of solving mysteries and crimes in these stories. They can be filled with adventure at times and will keep you guessing until all the way to the end. Also, you might happen to be a big fan of Gothic horrors. You might be a fan of Dracula or vampires in general, but it's good to know to go to the basic cores of these, such as in Frankenstein or in other Gothic literature is practically founded in the 1800s, and this is where it most thrived. Also, you might actually come across a little problem coming across classic literature. For you see, you might come across a movie or a play, and you might say, that was a fantastic play, I love that play. I suppose if I'm going to get started, I might get started now. In which case you might come across this little number right here. But not to worry, there's still an abridged version out there. This is filled with about 1,400 pages. A better edition would probably be about 300 pages in an abridged version. Also, like you might say, many stories are filled with classic adventure and action, which is very wonderful, such as Gulliver's Travels, which even has a bit of oddity to it. However, as I said, you might come across this right here. You might say goodbye, but not to worry. But as I said, there are abridged versions out there that are very capable of helping you out. These classic literatures can be very most beneficial for being exciting and also thought-provoking. They almost always broaden your mind to better concepts. Studies have shown from bioscholars, that children who listen to music more than they read are much more prone to depression than if they are exposed to literature. 6 out of the 100 most read classics, on average, a person will read 6 of them. This includes from school-related or required reading, whether in college or in high school. Also, there are many others out there who decide that they actually enjoy this hobby and will actually read numerous amounts. This cuts down on the amount that everyone else reads. And it is true that some people just aren't cut out for classic literature. That might actually be true, But I believe that classic literature can be enjoyable to other people if you start out with a revolution of books you enjoy, and then eventually evolve, slowly and gradually, into more and more practiced and read books in which you may enjoy. And not only that, but will come to learn and appreciate them just for the knowledge they have. Now, allow me to misquote Benjamin Zander when he said that everyone loves classical reading. They just haven't found out yet.